chat to me about graveyard theory.
Graveyard theory. Oh, I love this one. This is something that's resonated with me for a long time. So, graveyard theory, in essence, is the idea that we have two dates that are going to be on our tombstone when we're buried. It's going to be the date we were born and the date that we eventually leave this earth, right? And in between the dates on your gravestone are going to be this little dash, right? You've seen it on tombstones, 17th of August, 19, whatever, to 2026. It's a small dash in the middle. And I find it really interesting because in that tiny dash on a gravestone is everything in that person's life that they have known, everybody they've ever loved, everything they've ever experienced, every lesson, every mistake, every success, and every failure in their life. And it's present in that one small inscription. And so, what is ultimately something that's very small is contained in it the entire vastness of somebody's existence. And I just think that that is one of the coolest things that we can use for imagery when we talk about life. Because, like, as much as we think about ourselves as and try to think outside ourselves, is like everything that we're experiencing is the whole entire, it's so grand to us. Experience and life itself is so grand because it's all we know. But in the grand scheme, in the history of the earth and the future of the earth, we are that tiny dash. We are a small inscription in human history. But it's a nice little contrast to be like, we're so insignificant, but everything that we experience is so significant. But it can all be contained in just one small inscription. And that to me is graveyard theory. And the whole idea being that you should maximize what's in your dash. You should know what you want in your dash and pursue it with everything in you, because at the end of the day, that dash is your whole story.
And what would you want in your dash?
God, my dash, my dash is something that I think about every day. Honestly, like it is generally. If I break it down, what I want in my dash, I think the biggest thing for me in my dash is I just want to be somebody who's remembered for leaving the world in a better place than I found it. If we're going to get really profound, for being somebody who, through their existence, impacted other people's experience on this planet in a positive way, whether that's through coaching and getting people in shape, or even the mindset style of coaching, changing people's thought processes, their mindset, their thought patterns, the way they approach their life, or even just having as much of an impact on the people who are really close to me, like my family, right? Making a family is something that's going to be really important to me in the future. And so that is what I want in my dash at the core of it. Now, obviously, people can talk about like, yeah, we want to, drive the sports cars and like live life to the fullest because we're only here once. So why not go and experience all of those things because it's there to be experienced? But in the essence of it, that's what I want to be in my dash. Is I always use the word legacy, and it sounds cringe. Legacy is this thing that's been overdone and overdone, but it rings really true to me because that's what I want my legacy to be. I want to go down in the history books of this planet as somebody who made a real difference, and that's my dash.
How do you make a difference when you're in an industry where there is a lot of fabrication and, shall we say, replicas? Because I feel personally, as somebody who is really into the actual intricacies of training, nutrition, and started to build quite an interest in, if we're talking like from the psychological standpoint, not just the I help 37 to 45-year-olds lose X in
Yeah,
X rocket ship
yeah.
emoji.
I have X, do Y, and Z time frame. Yeah, or money back guarantee and all that sort of stuff that you see everybody do. And I think that's actually that's a really really good point, because I think if we're talking about like the industry in general, right, and the industry that we're both a part of, is it feels like, from obviously looking outside, it's actually the reason. Let me tell you the reason I got into coaching in the first place is because I looked at some pages of some people that I knew locally, right, or some people that I'd known from years ago, right, the people that you knew from school or you knew from like just knocking around, or you'd seen them on the internet, and you're like, you've just seen that they've become a personal trainer, a coach. And I just remember thinking to myself, and maybe this is really narcissistic of me, maybe this is terrible of me, but I just remember thinking, God, everyone and their mum is a coach. And then I remember thinking to myself, why? I know if I started doing that, that I
Mm.
could be better than that. I could be better than just cookie cutter stuff because I actually had a knowledge base from doing it myself, right? And that's why I got into coaching in the first place to make that sort of difference and to stand out from that. But it is that's it. It's more difficult to have an impact when there is so much noise. But I think
Mm.
it's really important that we actually assess that there is a real difference in each and every coach. But I think the problem is that each and every coach is taught this is the one way to do it. And I think it comes back to my overarching point, my overarching belief in how to be unique and stand out and have an impact in a space that is so saturated with, like you said, like noise, misinformation, cookie cutter stuff. And it really is as simple as just being radically authentic, like radically honest with who you are, what you bring. Like a lot of people will look at every coach and think they're the exact same, but behind every one of those accounts that you see, behind every one of those programs is a person that has focused so much on the training plan, nutrition plan, and I am a coach. Here's how to do a bicep curl. Here's how to bench press. Like they've forgotten that actually to be a human being behind it, because that's what people are actually interested in. Because especially in an information age, and I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole of info, but especially in an information age where I could go and ask Claude or ChatGPT right now to give me a training plan. It might not be good. It might be just
Mm.
passable, but I would see gains if I followed it. To go and live in an era like that, we need to be more authentic as people whenever we're coaching. And that's something that I've adopted massively is like we need to be the person behind the program because that's what really gets people going and that's how to make an impact because the only person that can make an impact that you are able to influence is you. And that's what people have to remember. I think at the end of the day, it's kind of what's been lost through all of this.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and obviously with the emergence of social media marketing, the industry is essentially being blown wide open, right? And anyone can get in. And where some people might disagree with me is I actually think that's a very good thing because coaching, personal training is almost there's almost this process of natural selection, right? If you don't have the work ethic, you don't have the hunger, you're not going to make it here.
Hugely.
But
Like, I massively agree.
yeah, especially if you're an on the floor PT where you really have to eat shit. I do think though you have to find a balance between, like you said, showing who you are and being a person, right? Because people buy people at the end of the day, but also knowing how to help a real human being. Like you had mentioned the knowledge base you had, and a lot of people who have maybe trained for a few years go in to the gym with this mentality. And if we're talking looking at PTs, that, oh, I know this, I know that, but knowing how to do X or knowing about Y and teaching someone to do X and teaching someone about Y are two very different, very different things. So in the in the mentorship, we have something. I apologize if anyone's hearing my. Are you hearing my Discord notifications there?
I haven't. I don't think.
Okay.
I've been too locked in. I've been too dialed. And I've been no spitting sauce here. I'm gonna pay attention.
Guys, I apologize if you can hear my Discord notifications. I have turned off my notifications, so hopefully
He's
that.
just a busy man.
Oh,
He's just a busy man with busy people, and
I'm
he's him.
MacBook.
So
I'm just a guy. The MacBook is on DND. I will figure out how to cut this off completely, but that's a lesson in itself. Don't me about 2 years ago would have been like, oh no, I have to restart the podcast because they might hear this. Just make it better next time.
Radical
Anyway,
authenticity.
that's it. That's it, man. That's it. Just being real.
That's it.
We have something in the mentorship called ComCon, and it basically means conf. No, con. Sorry, I don't know if I said com. Even though I coined the term, I always get it mixed up.
Tom.
Confidence in communication. Okay, because
Yeah.
knowledge has no value if it can't be communicated. How we work it, as part of a development plan, the guys have at least once a week they have to study a topic, a module of the courses we have internally, or they can get it through an external course / piece of CPD, or they can just pick a topic and they learn about it for a week or a day, however long it takes, and they take that information and then they can go onto Google, ChatGPT, whatever, and learn 3 new words. Notice how I didn't say dictionary. Wow, we are so cooked.
Oh,
Now they learn 3 new words to add into their vocabulary. And using those 3 new words, they have to explain what they learned in under 60 seconds.
Ooh, I like
because, and then on our weekly call, that they have the first 60 seconds is that. And I've implemented this very, very recently because I heard perhaps the person I respect most in the industry talk about the fact that sometimes he doesn't talk about things he understands because he doesn't know how to communicate them. And I was looking at it like, okay, top dog says the person I admire, the person whose ability to communicate and knowledge I admire the most, is saying that I need to look within myself. And that's why I like consuming content from people who are at such a high level, because it's very humbling. It's very, very humbling. And I feel as if only a real coach could make a point like that, because you see these flash in the pan coaches, as I call them. It's always this way. On the floor PT, makes it big online, and then they have like they make a brand, and the brand's called, it's always something like Rapid Fire or Black Fire. Join my Black Fire system, join my Black Fire program. And they all make the same videos. They all I think it might all originate from Phil Graham stuff back in the day. I'm not sure who first had the idea, and I'm sure that when the idea was first came around, probably let's say 10, 15 years ago, from what I know. If anyone's in an OG in the industry, you'll enlighten me. But it was definitely fresh and unique then. I don't know if there's a lack of creativity or people are just looking for shortcuts, but we just have this. When I say online coach, it almost carries a bad connotation.
Yeah.
Same as when I'm talking about the service, I don't like saying mentorship because
I hear that.
It carries that connotation. So what I'm trying to do is teach people the intricacies, as I talked about, biomechanics, nutrition, gut health, communication skills, things that actually make an impact. And the only reason I teach business stuff is because, well, you need to eat. There's no point of...
It's true.
Yeah, there's no point of having these skills if you can't... no point of having all these skills if you can't make money from it.
It comes right back to what you just said about ConCom.
Yeah.
There's no point in having that skill or knowledge there if you cannot communicate it to something else. And in a way, I think that ties in nicely with, trying to teach, I guess, the points of business maybe as well that other coaches maybe don't understand to that same, because everybody can get bogged down in the idea of, how do we improve as coaches, which I really admire, because it's something that I've been on a massive journey with. Like, I haven't been a coach for a long time, and I am good at what I do, but I know that there's a lot of coaches out there who know a bit more than I do in terms of when it comes to the body itself and things like that, right? But what I will I'll openly hold my hands up and say there are people out there who know more than me. What I will say is there's nobody out there who will try to learn more than me. I think I pride myself in that an awful lot. But when it comes to the business side of things as well, I think a lot of coaches, especially online, because like you said, online coach almost carries a bad connotation because a lot of what online coaches do is quite kind of, I want to say half-assed in the nicest way
Yeah,
possible because of, and I don't think it's with intent. I don't think it's done on purpose. What I think is there's just cacophony of noise on social media, right? Especially when you talk about social media, it's like there's so much information about the business side of things, and it
and
will
it's
always
us
be the
banging the
stickiest.
pan off the street.
Yeah, it's just fucking ding, 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 ding.
Me and
We're
you're responsible for like 97% of it.
it's fucking true. Just throw that on. But no, like you're all right, and like there's so much of it, right? There's so I even get lost in it too. Like my algorithm's covered, and if it's not coaching itself, it's business side. Because that's just what I have obviously liked, and my algorithm's feeding me more and more and more. But the problem with that is you just get inundated with so much. It's hard to tell a
Mm.
fucking spade from a spade. You know what I mean? So at that point, then there needs to be clarity. And so mentorship is not a bad word, right? People have that it's a bad word because there's so many again half-assed because people the thing is this, and the path is this that I've seen people take, right? At least in my experiences, I've seen people take in-person PT, have a bit of an impact, move online, do okay online, business coach,
Mm.
and completely forget about the fitness side of things and just leave it because the business coaching is where the real revenue is because you can charge exponentially more probably for it, right? Because
Yeah.
whatever way it works with the income brackets. But idea being is that that's where the money is, so that's where most people go. But what
Mm.
they don't understand is they have to pay their dues at each level before they can get to the next step. Otherwise, you end up with these half-assed mentorships, which is why it carries such a bad connotation. And there are ones out there that I'm sure are fantastic. I've been part of mentorships that are amazing. You have a mentorship that I look at and I see, and I say you put a lot of time and effort and work into it. And I congratulate you on that because you're probably one of the few people that do. But there are a
Thank you.
lot out there who have skipped steps 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and gone
Mm.
straight to like the top and tried to replicate the big guys, but don't either have the knowledge base or the understanding or even the work ethic to a certain degree of how to make that model work or how to teach that model. Because there are coaches out there who do really well, and there are some coaches out there who get a viral hit on social media, live off the viral hit, live off whatever kind of style of content they make one style, start a mentorship group, get people to buy in because they see here's a guy who's really popular with shit tons of followers who gets people in pretty decent shape because he knows how to get people shredded basically, and they'll sign up and the information will just be here's like a bit of info in a school community and let's do like a group call once a week with like 500 people where one person gets a hot seat and nobody gets to ask any questions, you don't get any real support, and everything is backdated about 5-6 years, so it's never even up to date in the first place. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying names, but I am saying that that exists out there, and that's why
Mhm.
it's a bad name.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the main reasons I went into mentorship, and genuinely, this is the honest answer. I just enjoy coaching coaches more, and
That's fair.
coaches and advanced lifters. I just enjoy it more. Even when I had only been a coach for, you need to remember, in the grand scheme of things, I'm a baby in the industry. I
Mm.
started coaching in September 23. The only difference is, well, I have OCD, so I just it was a full on ultra attack. I need to
You just
know everything,
everything.
everything about
Give me all the
everything.
textbooks.
Yeah, but my mom reminded me the other day. My teachers in she taught at the primary school I went to, and so she obviously has the colleagues that there still. And when they mentioned me, they talked about the fact that I was always really curious. I needed to know why, right? I think an element of that was definitely present in me getting into this. When I so say you play American football, and I asked you a question about it, and I was got a little bit interested in it. I couldn't be a little bit interested in it. I need to know
That's fair.
why it started, where they got the idea from, how it works, who's the top dog, what's the history. I approach coaching the same way. And obviously, because coaching, or the gym in general, was the first thing I was properly good at, you know.
I feel that.
Point being, even even when even when I'd only been a coach for very, I know objectively being a coach for a very short time, but I sometimes forget how young I am. So in relation to my life, it's not actually a short time. Not to go on a
It's a
tangent,
short time. A
but
baby. A baby. It's a
yeah.
short time.
But even when I'd only been coaching for a few months, I was reading into as much as I could, doing like educational mentorships, genuinely studying. And I had a really good, my first mentor. Shout out Ben Corsby if you're listening. My first coach slash mentor. He wasn't a mentor. He was just a coach that mentored me because he cared and was passionate about what he did. Like having those people support you drew added fuel to my fat like fire. I mean to know everything that the pit of
It's
OCD,
hunger.
right?
It's that
The
hunger
hunger,
that you
yeah,
mentioned before.
100%. And I appreciate I veered off on a crazy tangent, but
No, go. This is
I just I
sauce.
wanted
Pay attention.
I wanted so bad to finally be really good at something, and I discovered that, oh, if I just put in the work, I get better at this, and because it
Local
is
man
actually that
shop.
simple. Yeah, it's man, it's a graft, but people were asking me questions when I was a babe, like when I literally was making like £100 a month from coaching. People were asking me questions. Coaches who had been coaches for longer than me were asking me questions, and then only just after a year into me being a coach, I did pre-script, and then I just kept building and building and working with other coaches. And I've just been kind of kicked off Riverside. We're back.
We're back.
I'm gonna repeat what I said there, just in case it cut off. A year after becoming a coach, I did pre-script, and I just started adding more and more and more and more and more, working with more coaches, doing more courses, and then always asking questions and consuming a lot of media from, like I said, people who are further ahead than me, which is something I've double, tripled, quadrupled down on. So because of that, I always made content. I made content that made me skint, right? And that's why I never really had a big business like boom until I went to Pure Gym, and I knew how to coach, and I knew what was required of me to build a business there because before when I was joining that gym, that was the first time I had actually invested in business mentorship. It was a very small investment, but it paid off. Dividends were crazy. Changed my life, right? And I don't actually say that lightly because I feel as if people say that lightly. But to give you context, when I joined Pure Gym in October last year, I had a one PT client come with me from my old gym. So from the PT standpoint, I was basically starting from scratch. I was fully booked by April, and I'm currently the busiest PT in there, despite already taking a huge step back. I'm going online next month. So I'm not saying that as a, oh, look at me, blah, blah. I'm saying that I made no money for the first almost 3 years. No, let's say 2.5, maybe two. Made no money because I spent everything I made on getting better. And I heavily encourage people to get really good at helping people because then the money comes,
Mm.
right? But it's like you said, when people skip steps, it's they climb this, they build this pyramid, but the pyramid's out of paper and there's nothing inside.
Yeah.
Whereas if you actually master your craft and do the dirty reps, do the hard work, and do eat shit, you build up slower. But it's because you're actually laying your foundation, and then your first layer, and then your second layer. And while it's quite deceptive because everyone's overtaking you, all it takes is a little hole to be poked in their pyramid, and they're done.
It all
Whereas
crumbles.
yours will withstand the test of time, right? house built on sand versus house built on the rocks. Okay,
I love that. That's fantastic.
be don't be a pyramid made of paper. Is all is
Don't be a
all.
don't be a paper pyramid. I like that.
Don't be a paper pyramid.
Don't
Obviously,
be a
there
paper.
I mentioned you playing football.
Mm.
I play rugby, right? And
Oh, I see where
you
this
know
is going.
no. Well,
I'll
I
play.
say
I'll
I
play.
play. I will say I played. I don't think I'm going to continue just with life things that are happening at the moment.
Happens.
Good life things though. Good life
Good
things.
life
Busy
things.
life
Positive
things.
life things.
American football, is it rugby with armor, or I have no
I
idea.
yeah.
Explain.
Okay. I'm
Explain.
gonna.
Explain rugby to me. Sorry, not rugby. Explain American football to me.
As if you were
Like,
five.
not as if I was five, as if I have no concept of the grit and the intensity, complexity, and the dynamic of sport.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Deep breath. Hope we're ready for this, right? Because this. I'll try not to
It's
make this
triggered.
go on a
It's
while, but
triggered.
this could go. It hits a part
We're
of
a
my brain.
podcast, lad. Go on for a while.
We're going for a while. Right, boom. American football, how does it relate to rugby? Is it rugby with just armour? Short answer, absolutely the fuck not. It is the only sport that I have ever been a part of or ever seen where you cannot legally play a game in this country unless there is an ambulance at pitch side at all times. If the ambulance leaves to take someone to hospital, the game is paused until it comes back. It's the only thing that I've been a part of where that has to be legally in the rules, otherwise you can't play. So that's the level of physicality that it takes. I have never played or been in a game where somebody has not gone off hurt badly, injured badly. It is as intense as it comes, despite the fact that we have massive armor. Not the one, but I mean the biggest difference that I've found compared to rugby, right, is I'm not a big rugby guy, but as far as I'm aware in rugby, you cannot legally hit somebody above the waist. Correct?
Above the waist.
Above the waist, or you can't just basically
It has to
shove
be. The rules have changed, but I'm pretty sure it has to be below the sternum.
below the sternum. Okay, that's a little bit different to what we had been. We've been coached as
Yeah.
good. So like American football is like unless you genuinely hit somebody in the head with your head, everything else is pretty much legal. So you
Hell
can
yeah.
ransack boys, you can do and that's fun, but it's also if you don't know how to protect yourself or play well, or if you play scared, you get really hurt. So in a nutshell, it's
Mm.
definitely yeah, it is one of those things like you cannot fear it because the fear will put not just you but your teammates in danger. American football is like I like to think of it as a big orchestra, right? Every single part, every single player has their role, and if one person messes up, the whole symphony is off. It doesn't sound the same. It doesn't work the same, right? It is the ultimate teamwork game because it relies on each cog in the machine doing their work. Otherwise, the whole machine stops working. Right? American football, in essence, is this. For anybody who doesn't know and really has no basic of what it is, you are basically on two teams, right? There's offense and defense. Offense has the ball, right? And what happens is the offense has to move this leather pigskin 10 yards down the field, and they have 4 attempts to do so. They're called downs, right? So if you ever watch an American football game, you will see 1st and 10, or 2nd and 6, 3rd and 4. That's the attempt that the offense is on, third down, second down, and the amount of yardage left until they make it to 10 yards. Once they advance 10 yards, they get a fresh set of downs. So they get a whole new set of 4 attempts to make another 10 yards until they get all the way down the field to the end zone, which they break the plane of, they get a touchdown for 6 points, right? Now, you can also kick the ball through the bar. Cool. That's a field goal. It's worth 3 points. Or there's a bunch of other ways basically that you can score too. But that's the basics of it, right? There's 2 ways you can move the ball forward. You can either run the ball, which looks a lot like rugby, where you hand it to somebody and they just bulldoze, duck their head and go down through the line of big guys, and they try to move it as fast and as far as they can. Or you can throw the ball, which is your Tom Brady's, your Odell Beckham Jr.'s with the world, where they will just load up and they'll just fling one downfield about 50 yards. And that's the main difference between rugby and football. Football, you can throw it forward, but you can only throw forward once. You can only throw it forward once per attempt, if that makes sense. But essentially, that's how you win. The person with the most points wins. Defense's job is to stop the offense from making the 10-yard gain. The offense's job is to keep moving, keep advancing the ball down the field until they get to the end zone and they score points. And then once they score points, there's a kickoff, there's kick returns, and then the other team gets the ball. Now, if the offense doesn't get the 10 yards within the 4 attempts, then the defense takes over from where the offense stopped. So that's basically how that happens. And in a nutshell, in like a really basic explanation, that's how the game works.
So you know when I've seen they're facing each other.
Yes.
There's almost like a tunnel in the if you were to split the
Yes.
pitch in the middle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does that then happen in each down, or is that
Yes.
the
Yes.
4 attempts?
Yeah. So that's what that's exactly it. So they get 4 attempts called downs, right? And each down, the offense will run a play, right? If you've ever seen somebody like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady go on a talk show, they'll ask them to call a play, right? It'll be like explode the gun double right F lizards XZ Y jet 356 kill 90 X Y on 1. Ready? Like that's a play call, right? It sounds ridiculous, but each person in the offense knows exactly what that means in like a code language. And basically what they'll do is each down they will have a play that they have dialed up, usually either a run where they hand the ball off or a pass. The quarterback is the most important position on the offense. That's probably what most people know is the quarterback. He's the quarterback of the football team. That guy, right? He's the only guy who touches the ball every single play because he either hands it to the back or he throws it. And that's where that tunnel kind of looks at, where you got the big guys on each side. That's the line of scrimmage. So that's where the ball is placed. So whenever the play stops, whenever the runner is brought down or somebody catches it and gets tackled, the ball's spotted there by the referee, and that is where the next play occurs, right? It goes on from there. And that's where the big guys line up. The big guys on the offense, their job is to protect their quarterback, and the big guys on the defense, their job is to tackle the quarterback. Do you know what I mean? Does that kind of make sense?
It makes a lot more sense than it did 10 minutes ago.
That's
So
something.
I'm curious with quarterbacks.
Yes.
When I would listen to like a lot of country music, and obviously in more like in small towns and like southeastern
Mm.
areas of America. I know like football is a big deal,
Huge.
and
Yeah.
they always reference quarterbacks as like the guy. So
Mm.
your main character, your jock or whatever you call it. You're the guy that's very
Mm.
athletic, very good looking. In the movie, he'd be the one with the blonde girlfriend and
Yes.
the blonde haircut.
Mm. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. And
Yeah.
it's funny because it's like at like a higher level, right? Like the quarterback is who he is, and he's so impressive because he's the smartest player. Doesn't have to be the
Mhm.
best athlete. Oftentimes he's actually not. Oftentimes the guy who play like I play with wide receiver who go downfield and catch the footballs, they can be really good athletes. Or the running back is the best athlete, right? The guy who takes the ball and runs through the line. But the quarterback is always the smartest because he has
Mhm.
to know what every single person on the team is doing at every single juncture on every single play. And there could be 250 plays that this guy has to memorize and know by heart that he has to then explain to the offense in the huddle, which is like 20 seconds, get to the line, look at what the defense is doing, figure out what they're doing so he knows where to put the ball if he's throwing it or to hand it off, then snap the ball, look at what the defense is doing as it's going on, and pick a shot. Right? So it's like the brain power that's needed for that is the best. It's actually often misrepresented in like modern culture, in films at least, because the Chad guys, like the big Chad, like typically they seem like linebackers to me. As somebody who's inside, they seem like somebody who just play linebacker who just wants to go and thump people, and that's the fun part. People come in and love playing linebacker, but quarterback's the most important. Like I would go as far to say the most important position in all of sports. Full stop. If you took every single sport and took who is the most crucial to their team's success, it's a quarterback of a football team, and there's no doubt in my head with that at all.
Interesting. I think if I ever watch an American football game, they're I don't know how into football as in European football you
Mm.
are, but there was a saying about a player that used to play for Liverpool, Roberto Firmino, and I think the saying was something like, "Watch the game and you'll not see Firmino. watch Firmino and you'll see the whole game.
Mm.
Is it something like that? If you watch the
Pretty much.
quarterback,
Yeah, give or take.
something
It's
like that.
something like that. Yeah, give or take.
Okay,
That's pretty much
cool.
exactly it. Right? Like if we think
And
of
I'm
Bobby
curious.
Firmino as the quarterback, I love that.
Okay, okay. I'm curious how, because I know American football is getting more popular over here, not just
Mm.
in Ireland but in the UK in general, and I'd say probably Europe as well now. How did you get into American football?
Really good question. It kind of goes back to 2017. So like this is kind of the shortened explanation of it, I guess, because otherwise I'll just go down a rabbit hole. We will be here for 3 hours while I explain this. But for in 2017, the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. That's my favorite team. And the only reason they're my favorite team is because they won the Super Bowl that year. Because that was the year
Sorry,
that I
I've
started
just
watching.
imagined, I've just imagined a box or top of the white cream cheese flying through the air.
This guy, man, this guy.
Oh.
He must. This guy took something before the pod. He
Sorry.
took something before the pod. I
I'm on
promise.
just
Just
hydrogen and
agua,
oxygen, brother.
H2O. I love that.
Sorry. Let's try it again. Let's try
That's
it
amazing.
again.
Anyway, so 2017, I watched the Philadelphia Eagles play. They won the first game that I ever watched. But the only reason I paid any attention was because my dad was watching it in the kitchen on the TV. And I asked him, how do you watch that? Isn't that just rugby with armour? And he said, well, actually, if you watch it, there's a lot of different rules that you have to understand in order for it to make sense. But once you understand the rules, it's the most intense game ever. It's fantastic. It's amazing. So I sat with him and I watched it. It was actually a real bonding moment for me and my dad to the point where I took it as a hyper obsession and obviously got way into it. And now I know more than him, so I keep him up to date with all the news. But that was a real bonding moment for me and my dad. And I think that's what stuck out to me as like, okay, this was something that was actually worthwhile. So fast forward a couple of years at about 2019, 2020 when lockdown hit, I remember just sat watching the games on, like from that season. And I remember thinking to myself, this is such an odd thought, but it's exactly what got me into it. In primary school, we used to play keep away. You know, with the football, you take the younger kids' football or the older kids' football and you'd run around
Yeah,
with it
yeah,
and they'd
yeah.
try and get it off you. It was just a big scrap. It was amazing. But I was always really good at that, at dodging people, like weaving through, of like holding onto the ball through contact and stuff like that. And I was like, I would be a really sick running back at the NFL. I just watched it and I was like, this is what I used to do in primary school. This would be sick. So I trained all the way through lockdown. I was lucky enough to have a small gym in my back garden, and I would just sprint up and down the tarmac road next to my house, and I would just do sprints. And that was really like the start of me trying to do something more with my gym work because I started the gym in around 2017, 18, but I had no real goal. So this became like a goal for me of like, I can be an athlete. No way, this is going to be sick. So did that, started playing for a team in 2021, the Craigavon Cowboys. There's a load of fucking Cowboys in Craigavon, I know. But I started playing with those guys, and that was amazing. And it was my first real taste. But I remember the first practice session I got in, wanted to try running back, took one snap, got the ball, and got absolutely emptied. There's this guy who was like, he was a power lifter at the time, but 110 kg. Like, he just barreled through the gap and like laid me out. And I was like, I still want to play this game, but maybe I want to be a wide receiver where I'm not like getting hit every play and I can just run really fast because that's what I was good at. And so that's kind of what got me into it then. And from there, it was just a hyper obsession. I got my first taste of it and I fucking loved it. I loved it with everything in me. So I tried to go to the NFL Academy straight out of school, which was in London. And I tried 3 different times to get into there. And actually, it's funny because that's almost like my origin story in a way, in terms of where I've come from my teenage years all the way to now. Is like that was my first real failure in life. I think because everything that I put my hand to, I've been pretty decent at. Like I got really good grades in school. I was academic. I made friends okay. Like I made a couple mistakes, but nothing that was really like I had tried my best at something and it didn't work. And this was the one thing of like I tried my best to get into the NFL Academy in London. And I went to the trials. I went to the combine that they had in when I was 19 years old, in like 21, 22. Tried my ass off, worked so hard, and just didn't make it. Just didn't make it because like I was up against athletic freaks, right? I was up against these guys who were 16, 6'5" from France and had 42-inch verticals and ran a 4.3. Like I was never gonna make it in hindsight, but that was the first time for me where I actually tasted like the sting of failing at something, and that was the one time where I was like, okay, well, now I know what this tastes like. I need to just go and get better. And then fast forward a couple of years, I've been the league MVP. I hold multiple records at my position. I won a national championship. with the club, and we're playing in the championship game on Saturday with my new club, which is for the Irish Premiership Championship, which would be amazing. But opportunities to go and play in Denmark, in Prague. I have an opportunity to go and play in Germany, and hopefully over the next couple of years, if things go well, there'll be semi-pro and pro opportunities coming my way too, which I really hope so. Which has been such a journey. American football has really been the one thing for me that's kind of been like a spine in my life over the past kind of 5-6 years, because through everything, through like my spine injury that I had in my disc that stopped me playing last year, to like my first taste of failure, to my first taste of victory in any organized sport, the first time I ever really won a medal for myself, like all those sort of feelings all came from American football, which is why I have such a deep love for it. And it's why whenever somebody asks me, isn't it just rugby with armour? I'm like, oh, you have no idea, because I was the exact same naive person who thought it was rugby with armour, who didn't know the complexities of it. But once I exposed myself to it, it is almost my greatest love. And so that's something that I hold really dear to my heart.
How would you say that shaped you, wanting something that bad and putting in the work, giving it your all, only to, I don't know if it definitely was like this, but for it to almost be over before it started, if we look at the context of the trial.
You're absolutely right.
Because, go ahead,
You're
go
absolutely
ahead.
correct. That's it. Like it was over before it started, but it took me getting to that point to look back now in hindsight and realize that, right? Um, I was 17 when I started training for this NFL academy, right? So I started compared to American high school kids or middle school kids who've been playing pee wee football since they were 5 or 6, right? But I was hell bent. I was like, I'm going to the NFL. I'm gonna make it to the NFL. I'm gonna do this. It was the first time in my life that I had said something with such like vindictiveness and like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it. And it was the first time as well that nobody believed me. Like, you know the way you have it where your parents will believe in your dreams when you're a kid. You're like, yeah, you can do it. Like, they'll be supportive and they'll do everything. And my parents, a lot of them are very supportive. But when I told them I wanted to go to the NFL and I was willing to risk it all to go there, they were like, you're being silly. Like, we love you. We're going to support you as much as we can, as far as we can, no matter what. And you have to keep trying. And maybe you will do it. And there's no doubt that if you put your mind to it, you'll achieve something. But, like, come on. And that kind of almost lights a fire in you a way that nothing else does. Of like, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna make it. But if I look back now with 2020 vision, of course I was never gonna make it to the NFL. I'm 5'10", and at a good body weight, I'm
Must be
70
nice.
kilos. He says jealous. 5'10" is nothing to be jealous of. Trust me. But
I feel as if 5'10" is like a really. Do I like people who are 5'10"? They're very honest.
ooh,
You have
it's
to
a
be
good
very
question.
honest to be 5'10".
You have to be extremely honest to be 5'10". I promise you that. You promise that it's close enough that if you're 5'10 and a half, you can get away with 6 foot if you position it right. But it's
If you wear
also somebody
95s.
could yeah, yeah, if you were 95. But also then somebody could look at you and think you're 5'8", and it's like, oh well, okay.
Mm.
So it's one of them ones where it's a nice. I feel like it's a middle ground. So if I don't excel in height, I need to excel somewhere else. I mean, you can use it as motivation that way. You can position it that way. But I think for me, going back to the question, is like having that dream scuppered before it even had the chance to get off the ground, right? Like there was no way that I was competing with the guys who were just freaks at what they did, no matter how many late nights. Like I remember using my last 2-3 periods of sixth form every day. We'd have 3 periods. I remember leaving school early without permission, with my boots in my bag, to go down to a local football field and just run routes and drills on my own until my bus came to lift me at like 4:45. And so I go down, run drills by myself, get muddy, and come right back up for the bus. And people were like, "Where were you?" And I was like, "I was doing work. I was doing this." And people always used to kind of laugh and say that, but to me, like I was so passionate about doing that because that was the level it took. I had to teach myself to run again to be that level. Like I was so unathletic, it was ridiculous. So even the grind that I had to get to that point, even when it wasn't enough, it sucked and it felt really. It got me really down for a long time. And actually, that was the first time that I fell out of love with training after all of that ordeal, because to put all of that in and to see no return basically on investment was heart wrenching. But it was only in like my naivety and like 19 years old that I couldn't see the dividends had already been claimed, because I was already 3 times the athlete that I was before. I was judging myself based on everybody else's and not my own development. And I think the lesson that I got from it all, whenever I finally snapped back into things, was you should never judge yourself on outputs because you can't control outputs. You can only control inputs. So falling in love with your process, falling in love with doing the thing that gives your soul life, pursuing a dream, even if it's hard, especially then, even if you never make it. Like I remember I made videos on this all the time, and my granddad used to say something before he died, and he always used to say, never aim for the ceiling. That always shoot for the moon, right? Because if you miss, you'll land among the stars. But at worst, you'll land your arse on the ceiling. He says if you shoot for the ceiling, you're gonna land on the floor. But if you shoot for the moon, the worst you can do is land on the ceiling. And that for me was something that was massive. Of like, even though I didn't achieve this dream, even though my dreams changed and my dreams evolved along with me, which was amazing, and that's something you're allowed to do. But even having that was something that I took real solace in, because at 19 years old to have like this dream that you had for years ripped away from you sucks. But when you put it into perspective, it's probably one of the biggest things that's impacted me the most and actually allowed me to grow into the person I am now. So I'm actually really grateful for that.
Yeah, there's a couple of points there I really liked. First one being you not seeing the return. There actually was a return, and it was your physical capabilities changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you're growing up and you're getting older, you don't see yourself physically aging, but when somebody hasn't seen you for a year, like taken aback. And that's the thing about consistency, isn't it? You never see the fruits of consistency when you're being consistent, right? You only really see it when it's like being on a motorway in cruise control and not realizing that you're getting closer to your destination until, oh shit, the turn's right here, last second, veer off the road.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
It's
There's
crazy.
there's actually a word for that. There's a word for that. It's called driving hypnosis, I think, because it is like you probably had that feeling when you're driving. Random side tangent, but you probably had that feeling when you're driving of like
What's it
you
called?
almost
Driving
don't.
hypnosis? I'll write
I
that
think
down.
it's driver's hypnosis or something like that. You can look it up. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's driver's hypnosis. But it's that sensation that you get. It describes that sensation of like you've been driving for ages and you just suddenly like you feel like you've teleported to your destination. You're like, how the fuck did I get here? Because I'm sure everybody who drives has had that of like, oh, I'm just driving, and you haven't really processed the journey. You haven't really like seen where you are. You've done the journey so many times that you're there, and you're like, how the fuck did I don't even remember driving here. And that's almost exactly what you're saying with consistency of you can never see the house you're building when you're inside. Whenever you're inside that kind of
Oh,
infrastructure, do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
that's sauce right that time. But nah, I'm messing. But in a way though, it is entirely true. Of like, I mean, like I put it into perspective now, and I think back on myself. Like I work in 40-yard dash times, which is around 36 meters, right? So if we extrapolate to 100 meters for everybody listening at home, like I run now a 4.640, and whenever I started training at 17, I ran a 5.340, which for people who run 100 meters, that's roughly around what is that, like a 14-second 100-meter dash or 15-second 100-meter dash, all the way down. I would probably run closer to 11-second 100-meter dash, like now, right? So for anybody to shave that amount of time off a 100-meter time, like to shave the guts of 3 seconds, probably is what it is. If we're being real, off a 100-meter time is like it's alien. But it's only because I had to teach myself how to run again, how to do all these things again, to even have a shot at the goal that I was trying to achieve. And I think it actually says a lot about setting your goals that high and shooting for them in. Because there's no way that if I had set my goal that I want to shave 2 seconds off a 100-meter time or 3 seconds off a 100-meter time, I probably would have got there, but it might have taken me a lot longer because I was conservative in the way that I set a goal. But I set a goal of I'm going to make it to the National Football League. And even though I fell well short of that goal, I still ended up at a goal that some would consider pretty fucking cool, pretty fucking good. And being able to call myself like an actual elite athlete who can perform at that level is it's a blessing. You know that way, but I would never have got there had I set my expectations any lower.
You had a dream of getting to the NFL, right? what I love about social media? And
Mm.
I might be reaching here, but you sharing your story, regardless of the platform, might be on this podcast, might be on Instagram, but your story might just be enough to get, say you posted for 10 years straight every day and never had any impact, but one random person out in like Singapore or something, what you said about your failure or your desire to not fail, your drive, that might motivate them just enough to try 1% harder than they did the previous day. And that 1% might just tip them into the territory of being able to make their dream of making the NFL come true. And I might be wrong. It might not be an isolated case, it might be multiple people, right? And for all negative comments and people sending your stuff in the group chats and slaver and just the way social media is, and you need to accept that if you want to make money from social media or make a career out of something that requires you posting on social media. But mate, if you help, if you even never mind more people, even if you've helped that one person, you have still had a positive impact, and that person may also have a positive impact, and it multiplies from there. I talk a lot about. So I've past few weeks I've mentioned this quite a lot. Net impact. Do you know what I mean by that?
That's amazing. Yeah, and I really wanted to jump in on that too because I believe the exact same thing, and it's actually something that I've started taking stock in my life and measuring my life in because something again that I got caught up in, and the reason why all this is so fresh in my mind and I can speak about it so clearly is because literally this past weekend I sat and reflected on all of this that I'm telling you now and where I
Mm-hmm.
actually came from, how my identity has been shaped because something I'm massive on in my coaching is identity and actually making decisions as the version of you who's already achieved everything that you want and making setting those standards and holding yourself to that level because that will enable you to be up here same level as you who has success and the only difference is the time frame. And so for me I had to sit and be reflective on, well, how did I form my identity to this point, and went back and reflected on all those past failures even though they weren't really failures, they were just steps to lead me to success. But for me, then it's huge to start measuring your life in impact and not output, right? Because it's very easy to get caught up in, especially in business, for example, I'm not making the money that I want, or I can't afford this yet, or I can't make this investment, or I'm stuck at this point and I don't know what to do, or I feel really stressed because this isn't working, or I've been posting every day on social media but nothing's working and I can't figure it out. You're measuring in outputs. You're measuring in things that honestly you cannot influence. All you can do is give inputs and learn and give better inputs over time, and that will generate more impact. But it's important to remember that if you impact one person, if you change one person's life, and this is what I talked about earlier to you actually before we started of like going out and speaking to people. I spoke to an old man today who had a New York Jets t-shirt on. I'm not even sure he knew who the New York Jets was, but it caught my eye because it's American football, right? So I stopped him. He was outside the bookies. I just stopped him. His name's Thomas. He has a granddaughter who studies in Queens. He lives around the corner from me. He wished me very well. He seemed like a really nice gentleman. But I would never have stopped and seen him if I hadn't seen the t-shirt and I hadn't kind of gone out of my way to be confident enough to approach somebody that I didn't know. But that's impact. And when you start measuring your life in impact and number of impacts or amount or volume of impacts, that is a much better metric than outputs or money or followers or view count or likes. Because all of that, at the end of the day, is not in your control. Yes, you can create better content, get better at your skills, and you can expect a certain baseline, but that's not in your control. What is in your control is what you give in to everything that you do, which is effort, time, sacrifice, and your energy. And when you can give that in and get impact out, that's the metric you should be measuring. And I think just to jump in on what you said there about impact, I think is so crucial because it's a real rabbit hole to go down if you stop measuring your life in impact. But once you start, if you haven't started, it's world changing.
Mm. I had one of the lads in the mentorship actually said something to me yesterday, and it made me so happy. And just so I don't misquote him, I'm gonna look at my phone so I get
Terrible
this
form.
right. I get this right. I get this right because I don't want to.
Yeah, you can't misquote him. Can't misquote him.
I don't want to misquote him. So he said, "Content feels far more rewarding when you post it for saves over views." Something I teach is to aim for saves and not views, because even if your post gets 613 views but one person saved it, one person found that useful, you did not miss the mark. You pull the trigger so the bullet lodges itself and makes a change to the body of information that you have, right? Content needs to we're gonna go back to communication. Content needs to make a change to the way you do something. It's actually something useful. So I give you a tip about your like foot pressure when you're doing an RDL. You give it a go. You save it. You find it useful. You go back to it when you're training. You give it a go. You're like, oh my word, this feels so much better. And then therefore you get more growth, or you get stronger, whatever it may be. And then that's a positive feedback loop. Then you trust me because you know I've given you value, right? And
There's the
everyone's
word.
aiming for saves, not aiming for saves. Everyone's aiming for views and going viral. And in order to do that, they start pushing the boundaries with hooks. Like, we're all guilty of it, but people start to make content that's just made to piss people off. You do need to have an element of, I wouldn't say controversy. I'm gonna say controversy, or slightly polarizing.
Yeah,
Because if everybody,
polarization's great.
if everybody agrees with your opinions or your values or whatever it may be, then you're probably one of the. I've said this in yesterday's podcast. I've said it in the video the other day, but I'm just gonna keep using it.
Repeat it.
Do you know in Toy Story 2 when they have the Isle of a Million Buzz Lightyears?
Yes.
Like, just cereal box
But
PTs or cereal box coaches.
this is it. Like every single time I see a video and it's like, here's how to grow your biceps with these 3 exercises, and it's like, broski,
Yeah.
I have seen this same video by countless other people exactly like you, and it's no offense to you, but this isn't
Mm-hmm.
useful because everybody else is doing it, and you're not being polarized. You're not actually, like, that's where being polarizing comes in, because like
Yeah.
it comes back to this principle that I really have started to live by again, which is radical authenticity, right? And in being authentic, there's not everybody's going to agree with you, and not everybody is going to like you. You can be the ripest peach on the tree. Some people just don't like peaches. That's the way life works, right? And if you're a friend to everybody, you're a friend to no one. So the idea being that you need to have standards that you hold in your life, opinions that you have, positions that you hold, and you need to back them to the hilt because that's you. That's authentic. Otherwise, you're people pleasing, and people smell that a mile away. And so, whenever it comes down to it, then if you're making people pleasing content, which is what that is, it's agreeable content, then like you're not getting any sort of following or impact off of that. You're getting views and maybe likes because people are like, yeah, you're right. But it's like, of course you're right. Everybody fucking knows you're right because 90% of the population agree with you. But like you said, making content for saves is so important because, especially on Instagram, right? Instagram, you have to, if you make a reel on Instagram, people have to go out of their way to save. You can't just accidentally hit the save button on Instagram. You have to actually go and
Yeah.
deliberately save a video. If you get saves on your reels, that's money. Like that's cash. Sure, they're not even like in a literal sense, in a metaphorical sense, that's cash
But
money.
in a
That's
literal
free.
sense as well.
In a literal sense too, right? Because again, like
Yeah.
you said, the trust economy, right? Like it's the whole Gary Vee thing of we don't live
Yeah.
in a social media age, we live in an interest media age, we live in an attention seeking age. So to have somebody's attention is one thing, for them to then trust you is another. But for example, that foot pressure video that you did, I've tried that. I actually gave the advice to my girlfriend who was struggling with deadlifts and RDLs at the time. I gave her that advice and she was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing. Where did you learn that?" I says, "My bro Pete made a video on it." And like this is the level that it gets to. So like whenever it comes to impact, that's direct impact from you to me to even my girlfriend, because it's improved her form
Mm-hmm.
on RDLs.
Mm-hmm.
And so from
Mm-hmm.
there, it's like, you know, that even just building that level of, obviously we know each other, so it's a little bit different. But if that's working for, like, if I have clear evidence that that works in my real life, then if I need somebody to coach me in the gym, or I need somebody who's really technical in biomechanics or who has that knowledge base, guess where I'm going to go if I'm a stranger and I'm looking
Yeah.
at content and I've come across this and it's worked.
Mm-hmm.
Guess where I'm going to go whenever I need that level of support. And it might not be immediately, but it might be 3 6 months down the line after I've consumed enough of your content and realize, my God, this guy's fucking
Mm-hmm.
like, what? This is nice. This is a new
Yeah.
other word. I didn't know
Yeah.
this. Wonder what else he has to teach. Boom.
100%.
This is the idea.
You talked about clear evidence,
Mm.
something I talk a lot about on social media, something you've mentioned on the podcast and mentioned on social media, even today, is talking to strangers, right?
Mm.
And then you mentioned there, oh, because I know you. Why do I know you? Why do you know
Mm.
me?
That's a fun one.
Do
Let's
you
go
want
into that.
do you
I
want
love
do you
that.
want, do you want, do you want to tell the story from your perspective?
Yeah,
Because it's quite
I'll
boring
tell
from
a
mine.
story
Because
from
I
my
was
perspective.
I was just doing the thing. Right, go
You
ahead.
was just doing your own thing for real. I love that. But it's funny that that immediately was the impression that I got from you. That's just something that you do because of the confidence that you did. Basically, the story of how we met was I entered that pure gym one fateful night with my tripod and my bro, because we were going to record our back workout. We were just doing a back workout. I was just getting started. I think we met around February, March time. I had been a coach for 2 months. I'd been making content for like 2 months, like really, give or take. And I was just finding my footing. So of course I was recording my back workout, because what else am I supposed to do as a fitness coach other than record my workouts and just post them? So I set up my tripod and I was getting ready to record, and I feel like this tap on my shoulder. I turn around and there is Pete in all his glory standing being like, "Yo, bro, what's up? You doing some content?" And I was a bit taken aback, because I was like, yeah, I am doing some content, but I did feel slightly embarrassed in a weird way, because again, this was me just starting out. So I was still at that point where, like, recording myself in the gym wasn't abnormal because I'd done it before, but like having mics on, having the full setup, making it very clear that I'm recording content was a little bit of a different experience, especially for somebody to approach you, right? And I'll be honest, you were in the Pure Gym uniform. I thought you were going to give off to me. I thought you were going to be like, you can't record in here at all, ever. Like, don't do that. And I was like, oh, damn, okay, we're going to have to put this away. But you came up and you literally just asked me questions like, how long have you been doing it? What's your name? Whereabouts are you from? Like, just basic information that, like, I was more than happy to kind of share it. We got linked up on Instagram. I looked through some of your stuff and obviously saw that you've been doing it for a lot longer than I had. And immediately it was that kind of effective, like, because you had the confidence to come up to me and approach me and have just a normal conversation, and us have, like, we were laughing about it, we were joking and like having a good time. We talked about similar interests or similar people that we've seen on socials or different things we were trying to do, even just a coaching biz in general. Like, I just started, you've been running yours for a bit, you gave me the advice of like, bro, have patience, it does take time, but stick with it, never quit on it, because it will come good in the end. And that's something obviously that you learned through your whole journey, that you were able to pass on to me, and from that I've been able to pass that on to other people that I know too, who are also just starting in the industry, and it pays itself forward that way, which is amazing. But to the point, like, if you hadn't had that confidence to come up and speak to me or gone out of your way to speak to me, we would never have known each other. But more to the point, I went on your Instagram after we swapped Instagrams, and I was able to take a lot of inspiration from your page and from your content that you've been doing, because you've been doing it longer than I had. You built up a skill that I wish I had had, and I was able through that to look at some of the things that you were doing really well and try and emulate that in my own way, right? And be authentic with it, of course. But the idea being is, like, I know a difference between you and me is that I do not have the same knowledge of biomechanics as you, or I do not have the same in-depth knowledge of powerlifting, coaching, and things like that you do, right? But I know that one of my strengths from the past, from my whole childhood, had been communication, had been this kind of more esoterical thinking of being able to think on my feet, be intuitive, and all I had to do was just hone that in front of a camera. And I took that inspiration from you to gain the confidence to do that, to hone that skill even further, and to make it a real strength of mine. And now it's one of the things that's got me the most clients that I've ever had right now, because I was able to learn that confidence comes from that ability of just being able to be yourself, go up to people, approach them. But not only that, just like speak to a camera, learn from people who are doing better than you, be humble enough to know that you don't know everything, and just learn and adapt and hone your skill, but hone your skill in ways that actually benefit you in the future, and not just for the sake of practice is perfect and things like that, but actually with intent. That's some of the things that I learned, but that's a fun story. I suppose I kind of
Yeah.
over elaborated there a little bit, but from my perspective, that's the story of how we met, and I think that's a really fun one to go back to, because I think back to like that time in February and March, I was like, God, what was he at? What was that version of me playing at? But then I think as well, like of course I had no idea what I was doing, but if I
Yeah.
didn't,
You're not
like if
meant
I
to.
that's it, and I think if I didn't look back and crease a wee bit at it, then I haven't grown since then,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
huge.
From my perspective, you'll have said this to your clients before. I'll say it to my clients. I'll say it to my mentees. I'll say it to my clients that are also mentees. I won't tell you to do something that I either haven't done or wouldn't do. Speaking to strangers on the gym floor, one of the this you are the most perfect example of this, right? When I was going into the gym floor and speaking to strangers, that's obviously with the goal of signing up PT clients.
Mm.
But something I was taught, I mentioned previously that I'd invested into like business mentorship for the first time because I was like, okay, cool, I know a lot, but I can't afford to buy coffee, so something
Mm.
needs to change here. And something that was mentioned there that I hammer down on is aim for conversations and not conversions, because you never know who knows who.
Mm.
That person might not need your service, but they might know someone that does. So that's why you should speak to even speak to gym people. Obviously, you're filming a flipping workout with the DJI mic and the tripod. You are a gym person, right? It's like, right, I go up and speak to him. But as well, I saw in that moment that I was looking at you doing that, and I could see you were not that you weren't, because it takes ball. I said it to you the first time we met. It takes
Mm.
balls to take a camera into the gym and with mics especially, but into the busiest gym in the country,
Mm.
the busiest commercial gym at that as well. I remember how like I when I started taking the camera into the gym, like I mean my parents' big blocky camera, because that was just like slightly before phones and tripods were a thing.
Mm.
I was doing that in my local gym that I was doing it like 11:30 at night after work, so nobody see me. I even remember how embarrassed I felt doing that with the four or so people in the gym at the time. So let alone you walking in. Bear in mind, guys, Pure Gym, that Boucher Pure Gym, even if it's like I said, that was about 2 o'clock on like a Tuesday or something. There's still going to be around 50 people, maybe more, at the gym. Sorry, in the gym at that time. So I was like, I saw myself in you, and I was like, I need to, excuse me, I need to give him a little bit of encouragement because I know how hard that is. But I also felt I just wanted to say fair play, is all.
Mm.
But look at the way you shouldn't see these conversations as transactional, but there is a reward in that.
Mm.
I always say to people, speak to strangers because you're gonna get one of four things, right? You're gonna get a client, a connection, a a friend, or a lesson.
Mm.
And the lesson might be you might come across as rude by accident. Every failure teaches you something, of course,
Mm.
but these things also overlap. You could also be a friend that could become a client that also becomes a connection that also teaches me a lesson.
Mm. They're not mutually
Point being,
exclusive.
yeah, of course, yeah, it's a really good way to put it. Everything overlaps, and every conversation you have with anyone ever, doesn't matter where you are, when you are, it'll pay off. Something else you mentioned there, which I want to go into a wee bit. I posted a video yesterday, maybe 2 days before, 2 days ago, where I said, give as much away as you can, as much free value as you can. you mentioned the word esoteric there, and I think that describes how some people approach this space.
Mm.
They almost talk about principles and processes and systems and methodologies as if it's like they're secret that they need to hide and can't share with anyone, and only their little club can understand it. That is the worst thing you can do
Mm-hmm.
as a
Massively.
fitness coach, as a fitness mentor. The best example of free value. I was at a seminar a couple of weeks back, no, maybe a month ago or so now, at the most successful group training gym in the country. And the owner was given the seminar, but he also brought his accountant in to do a little bit of I think he did like half an hour or so in the seminar about tax thresholds and a few little different accounting things. And naturally, a lot of people were asking questions,
As
and
you
he was
probably
just giving
should.
them. Now, I say free value. We had paid for the seminar, so now I'm thinking about technically not free, but you'll get the point.
Additional value.
Additional value, yes, but people were asking him questions, and he was answering, and he was going on. He was actually fully explaining it. So you could say there's your value, your additional or free value, whatever way you want to frame it. And after he stopped speaking, then we went into a bit of a break. At least 5 people went up to him and were asking for contact details, etc., because they saw the value in what he had said. And what we talked about with content, this was like real life content. It changed. It changed how they thought, and they found it useful and saw the value in what he does. So they wanted more.
And there you go. And that's the blueprint.
There you go. That's all it is. So would that have happened if he concealed his knowledge?
Yeah,
No.
imagine like he turned up and gave a half hour of like this is a principle, and he just kind of spieled it on and on of like I've used this to help X client do Y and this and help generate this much in revenue, and
Yeah.
just kind of kept it going and going and going, and then like threw like a CTA at the end of his fucking seminar. He had like you know what I mean. Just start like draw on a piece of paper the word tax, and I'll send you my free plan. You know what I mean? Like this is my thing, right? It's true though, right? Like
Brilliant, brilliant,
we
brilliant.
laugh, but it's the exact way the industry is right now. Of like
I'm
this
never
is
using
free
this. I'm
value,
deleting every CTA I've
every
ever
single CTA
utilized.
ever, and this is kind of like I am, and this is not by any means business advice because I don't claim to be a business mentor, right? I've been in this space a very limited time, but I like to think that I know a little bit than the average person,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You have
Who's
to
ever
if
done
you're
it. Yeah,
self-employed.
no. I suppose if you have to, right? At the
You
end of the day,
don't
you're
have a
forced to it.
choice.
Just literally, no. It's that or don't eat. So,
Don't teach you this in school.
yeah, this is it.
Mate,
So
this is the difference between caviar and Tesco value cornflakes. Like,
real. That's exactly it. Yeah, there's some difference. I love fish eggs in my cornflakes. Anyway, no, it is that right. Like I am hesitant to put a CTA in the end of my stuff instead of just giving stuff away for free. And I think actually it's something self-admittedly I can do a much better job at is just giving things away for free because at the end of the day, people like to think that it is their own method or their own principles or things like that. And realistically, the principles across the board are the same, but how they're applied to a client is different. But that's the premium that people pay for. That's what coaching is getting the personalization, the work one on one, the actual intricate details of your life ironed out, and having somebody there who is in your corner on your team to take the thinking and the process out of the more complex side of things, if that makes sense, right? But like, and I always say this, and this is a belief I subscribe to massively. Most people who've been in the gym for a certain amount of time can get anybody in half decent shape. It is what it is. If you know about a calorie deficit and you know how to lose body fat and you know how to drop the scale and you train really hard and you eat 1 gram per pound of protein and you know 20% of your diet or 25% comes from fats and the rest of it from carbs and you have that nailed, you'll get in pretty decent nick, right? Like that is in essence the system. There is no glittery about that, right? Like yes, there can be things that are massively manipulated on a person to person basis, but that's what coaching is. That's what following a program and having that close one to one attention is. That's that part of it. But the principles in and of themselves are not like this fucking Pandora's box that shan't be opened. Otherwise, oh no, everyone's gonna know all my secret processes and systems, and then what's the point? If you tell everybody everything that you know, it's like the taxman. He's like the accountant. I call him taxman. The accountant. He
No, we're not praising the tax man
no, we're
here.
not. Fuck the taxman. I didn't say that.
I,
HMRC. He said it first.
HMRC, he
He
said
said it
it.
first. He said it first. I didn't say it.
I promise.
uh,
I promise the 365 at Cafe Nero is a business expense.
no, it is trust.
It
It's
is.
a
It is.
business meeting.
Well,
Business meeting.
yeah,
Business meeting
we
between
should go
friends.
back and claim that last time we were at Nero together.
I'm thinking we should too.
This is
Now
the
that I've just
thing.
thought
I
about it.
posted that on Instagram, so that acts as a reference. That's our receipt.
There you go. Ah,
Make tax digital.
we need to. This is it. Come on, boys. We need to fucking get on this. But more to the point, though, right? And back to what we were saying is like, yeah, absolutely. Like, there's very little secret sauce in the industry apart from your actual knowledge, what you know, and how you can personalize it, or the implementation of said knowledge. That is coaching. So to hide away the systems or the processes that you use as a coach in order to get people in shape is doing nothing but eroding trust between you and a potential client or a
Yeah.
prospect. Because all it does is just prove that you don't want to be authentic enough to give things away for free. Because the information without your implementation, like, I don't know why people are afraid of this too, because this is the whole point. Information without action is just knowledge. So why would you withhold information when the whole essence of your business, the whole business itself, is your implementation of said information? Because that's
Yeah.
what a coach is. It's implementing those protocols that actually get you paid, that make people invest in you, make them invest in themselves. Is that implementation? So the information itself is like you can find that anywhere. So just give it away. Give it away, build the trust. When somebody tries the information on their own and it works, guess who they're going to come looking coaching for when they inevitably need a coach? Da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
I feel like I'm quite passionate about that. I feel like I was like, I'm
that's
really on
good.
that.
That's good. The the surface level principles are obvious. If when we think personal training coaching, yes, there's a lot of nuance to it, but main thing is someone who's fat and wants a six pack. Right, move more, eat less, hit your protein, make sure to have some healthy fats, carbs,
Do it
fiber
for long
even.
enough.
Yeah, do it for long enough. Lift heavy, hard, etc. But there's so much more to it than that. That's the surface level. It goes so much deeper. However, we don't own these principles, and that's why we can't hog them, quote unquote. We can't be selfish with our knowledge of them. Yes, anyone could get someone in better shape, but getting somebody in great shape faster because you know how to cut through all the noise. And once you really, really understand principles, anatomy, processes, you're not confused by anything because you
I like that.
understand that Kyle Baxter has a great saying where he says the human body only works one way, which is true. And that's a massive skill. That's a massive reason I push that CPD element and push that continual learning because you'll never know. I love that I'll never know anything, no matter how much money I spend or who I speak to. Always someone's going to be smarter and better than you. But having that going far beyond the surface level, if you know that you can deliver the result to your client better, you can help the person in front of you faster. And a lot of coaches, instead of thinking critically and trying to fix the problem, they just sidestep it completely. I can't get this person to feel good on this machine. My face is going red. I'm embarrassed. My heart's racing. Oh no, they're not going to pay me anymore because I don't know what I'm at. Let's go to a different machine. Yeah, that'll fix the problem. Instead of I can remember when I was first starting out, before I had the experience with PTing. PTing is all about the velocity of your decision making, being able to apply like that deeper level knowledge that I talked about. And that's why it's so easy when you know principles, because you know why X is happening. Okay. But that used to frustrate me. I used to actually not be able to get to sleep because I was like, somebody's paying me for something and I don't know how to fix it. And I'd really be insecure in those early days and try, and this is normal when you're starting out, I'd really try, brush it off or fabricate a response instead of saying, the transitional period was when I started to say, it could be this instead of it is this. And really started to learn, why, started thinking through all my frameworks. But see now where I could look at anyone moving anywhere, not even training, just moving in general. I know exactly what's happening and why. It's it's very freeing in the sense that I ask me a question, or I ask them to do this. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. You have a lot of X because you're lacking Y. You're moving towards Z because we need W or whatever. Or let's put you on A. I don't think I think B will slow down our progress. Again, I talked about the velocity of decision making and how fast we can deliver the result. While it's freeing in terms of the stress of how do I fix this goes away, it's also the most infuriating thing ever, because I'm looking. I sometimes I was saying this to a client earlier. Sometimes I catch myself actually staring at people in the gym, or they catch me like looking at them. And I'm like, I'm actually looking at
You're
their
watching their form
technique
and their technique.
and their technique and how they're moving, and even if they're not paying me, I'm trying to solve the problem.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, wait, I was like, if they literally just put their finger here, or put their hand here, or move the seat this bit up more, just up a little bit more, it would work so much better, you know. And I was like, shit, I can't just stare at people, but
You forget.
it's like, yeah, like I love this so much. I love fixing the problems, and I think again, it might stem from earlier in life where I just completely had no control. I was always told what I couldn't do. Like going through the whole therapy process was really eye opening for me, where everything makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So just as our behaviors are a manifestation of what happened earlier in life,
Mm.
or things that we experienced or didn't continue to experience, maybe you start forming that like natural defense mechanism. It's
Mm.
very same, but biomechanics is the same. Nutritional habits are very much the same. In in the biomechanics course I have in the mentorship, I spent like a full the first the unit zero, the introduction, spent so much time talking about the thought process behind everything. It's all just described as a golden thread. Everything is everything. Everything matters. I went from a really like apathetic approach of nothing else matters except the thing I want,
Mm.
and that tunnel vision just blinded me
I hear
to the
that.
fact that there's no need for the tunnel, because I don't need shelter from the external world.
Mm. That's
I
heat.
can I can I can take it all in. I can try different roads. If you go down a wrong path, lads, Apple Maps exists.
This is it. There's no reason why you
You
can't
can
retrace
access
your
the
steps.
information easily.
Yeah,
You know.
this is it. Like, it's exactly that. And I think something that's massive from that is like, you know, there's no reason to fear not knowing things, because
Mm.
the idea being is that, something you said there was just massive. I think I actually might have commented this on one of your videos recently, but there's a quote from Socrates way back, ancient philosopher, and it's like, basically he was praised by generals in Athens, in ancient Athens, because he was the wisest man that lived, or he was the smartest, right? And he set out to test that theory by asking people questions about their viewpoints about everything else. And what he came to the conclusion was that what true wisdom was the knowing in that you know nothing, the knowledge that you actually know nothing. and that there is infinite information out there for you to learn. I think is the biggest takeaway that I have from something like that, because what I really admire about you is your depth of knowledge in that field, because it's something that I don't actually have at the minute, but that I really am working towards trying to comprehend as best I can, and something that I think loads of people would benefit, especially from a coaching perspective, of having that knowledge. And that comes from
Mm-hmm.
you ruthlessly investing in yourself, from
Yeah.
giving yourself that knowledge base, and from taking that risk on yourself, betting on your own ability to make that work. And I think that is a lesson that everybody can take, especially at home. But that what you just said there about not having to be sheltered from the external world is like confidence is a big thing when it comes into that, right? Because you can only have confidence in the evidence that you have, and confidence comes from proof, right? It comes from that proof. It comes from you can confidently solve an issue for somebody, for a client, or for anybody else, because you are confident and you have proof that you have the knowledge base, because you've applied it for people and it's worked. And the reason why
Mm-hmm.
somebody might, especially as a newer coach, might feel that like that dread of, oh my god, what do I do? Ah, is just simply because, in my belief, that they don't have enough proof yet that their knowledge in what they know of biomechanics or how to fix that issue, they don't have enough proof that they know how to fix that issue. So they have nothing to fall back on. So their confidence is shaken. And for me, that's the kind of like, I like to think in that sort of way of like, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, because everything I believe has a root cause. So for me, what I take from that, and the lesson I take from that on like even a mindset level is, you know, the lack of confidence comes from lack of proof, because they haven't been able to prove that they have that knowledge. Why? Because maybe they
Mm-hmm.
don't have that knowledge. Okay, so what do we do about it? Well, we go and get the knowledge. We go and learn. We go and try and absorb as much information as we can. Once we have that, then we apply it. We take action on the information to make it, not to make it actionable, I guess, for lack of a better word. We apply it to somebody else. It works for them. That's great. We now have proof banked that we know how to fix this issue because we fixed it, and now we can be confident if that comes up again for anybody else, we know how to fix that issue if it's the same thing. And that for
Mm-hmm.
me then is like bang, bang, bang in that sequence. But I think that's super fucking cool the way you put that. Actually, I really, really agree with that wholeheartedly. That ability to be able to come out of that tunnel vision thinking, and everything is everything, and everything is a consequence of everything else, and by addressing it holistic, the body in a way holistically, not like holistic medicinely, but as from an anatomical sense, that
Yeah.
is crucial.
Yeah. It's almost, what's this out of? Is it Looney Tunes where the you have the Roadrunner
Yes, yeah, it
and
is.
the coyote? Is that what it
Mm.
is? Is there not a thing in it where he paints the tunnel onto the wall?
Yes, yeah, yeah, and he just runs through
Yeah.
it, bringing
Yeah.
me back
Yeah.
to my childhood, man.
Yeah. So I suppose that's a good analogy for the somewhat apathetic nature of tunnel vision. We care about one thing so much that we disregard everything else and realize and fail to realize that everything does matter. And something that someone I've been saying a lot recently that I know landed with you was how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm.
Now, I phrasing it that way I got from someone that I've done education with, and it's the same principle just communicated in a different way. So my dad always taught me if you're gonna do something, do it properly,
Mm.
and again communicated in a different way. So we would have got that from, I don't want. I'm paraphrasing, but Luke 16:10, which is he who is righteous in a small matter will be righteous in a large matter. It's either that or he who can be trusted with very little can be trusted with much. Obviously, there's different translations. So
Mm.
that general
I think I remember. I
concept,
think I remember the parable of like the owner, and he gives one. Is it the one where he gives them different amounts of coins, and one of them goes and buries it, or one of them? I'm not sure if I'm
yeah,
remembering the
yes,
same
I think
passage,
it's
but I think
or I
it might be the
mean,
same passage. It might not. Maybe I'm
you've
getting it wrong
just you've
there.
just accidentally poked a hole in my theology. I'm not.
I actually
Sorry,
don't
guys.
remember. Like No, it's funny because
I promise that's not performative. I promise.
guys, I'm not performing. I promise. No, it's just funny because it's funny that you said that because I literally only recently listened through to Matthew and to Luke,
Mhm.
because I'd never taken the time to actually listen through or like read. I never read through them, but I'd be quite an auditory learner, so I just put like an audiobook on of it and just
Okay.
listen
Okay.
to it
Yeah.
be narrated, which I thought was pretty cool while I was doing my cardio because of course. But I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
remember that, as you said there with Luke, it's like, oh yeah, I think I remember exactly where that's from because he who
Yeah.
can be trusted
Yeah.
with a little can be trusted with a lot, or he who can, he who can be righteous in, with little, or can be righteous with all, or with much, something like that. I'm very much butchering slash paraphrasing, but that essence and the kind of core message there is so critical, I think, because
Yeah.
it's just it's the way it's the way we should do things.
It's a golden
Yeah.
thread, and it's true. I say it. It's again a principle I've applied into my coaching in terms of providing good service, trying really hard for my clients, and also holding myself like a self accountable and identifying when I haven't been doing that,
Mm,
which is okay. It's okay to get things wrong, but it's then learning from those mistakes and implementing the information, the
yeah,
feedback that you've got. Right,
that's
and that's why
huge.
feedback is so important.
That's huge.
100%.
And I just think like on that actually, because well, you mentioned that's something that I'm massive on within my community with all the guys that I work one on one with is the two levels or the two stages of awareness, right? And so stage one in itself is identification or awareness that I have a problem or there's something here that's not right or I've been there. Level zero is oblivion, so we don't know. We don't understand that
Yeah.
we have a problem. We're just doing something. We don't know why we're doing it. We don't understand that it's a problem. We don't have a solution. We just are ignorant to it or for whatever reason don't understand. Level one is awareness. So we know there's a problem. We know there's something going on here that we don't agree with. We know there's something here that is impacting us, but we are not doing, we're either choosing not to do anything about it or we don't know what to do. And step two is action. So learning enough or spending enough time with said thing to take enough action that we solve the problem or that we're taking active steps to remedy the issue that we have. We know we have a problem and we're working to fix it. And that is level two
Mm.
of it. And I want everybody that I work with, if they ever step back into level one, to be ready to go back to level two. And that's what the one-to-one guidance is almost all about for me, is making sure that everybody, even if we have a problem, how do we implement on it? How do we take action on it? And I think that is crucial. How we do one thing is how we do everything. I'll tell you a little story because I think it's really relevant to this point. One of the worst times that I have felt recently was immediately after winning my bodybuilding show, points to trophy. But the idea being is whenever we hold ourselves to a high standard for a really long time and we have ourselves at this really high level. Like I was in bodybuilding prep, right, which is by no means an easy feat. Right? It's takes everything in you, right? And
Mm.
I held myself to a pretty high standard. I tried my best to, hold the business high standard. Still got new guys on. Still was paying attention to the clients that I had. Still trying to deliver really good quality service. Whenever I had finished my bodybuilding show, in my head it was like, okay, now I can ramp the business back up. Now I'm eating normally. Now everything feels normal. Now I can do this. But actually, what I found is, as soon as that goal left, as soon as I didn't have the show to anchor myself around, I felt aimless. And whenever I felt aimless, the standards ultimately slipped lower than they should have. I kind of was eating what I wanted, when I wanted, taking advantage of not being strict on plan, taking advantage of being really lean, really insulin sensitive, so everything just felt great. And I didn't heal my yeah, and that's great. And it was fantastic for a couple of days, and then I had a hot ball of lead in my gut because the
Mm-hmm.
indigestion was ridiculous. But the idea being that
If I can just spot in
go
real
for it.
quick before it escapes my mind, for anyone that's never been lean before, when you're that lean, to keep it simple, if you've ever flushed a toilet on an airplane, that is how your body utilizes carbs. It just goes,
It's
it just
crazy.
disappears. So you can eat a huge meal, and it's like throwing a pea
Mm.
at the Hoover Dam. It just doesn't do
It's
anything.
exactly
Doesn't do
that. There's a
anything.
there's a video on my Instagram of me at dinner that same night after I won my show doing like the arm vein thing, and it's like it's a nurse's wet dream. I promise you, it was
Yeah.
incredible. It was like the Google Maps on my arm. It was crazy, and that's the way. Like it's just funny how your body just reacts that way to an overwhelming amount of like that nutrient because you've been so depleted for so long. But that being said, like whenever I had wrapped that kind of phase up and I was starting to move
Hmm.
forward with other things that I wanted to get back to, i.e., the business, i.e., going into a growth phase, getting my off season right, getting my reverse right, my standards up until fairly recently, and I'll just hold my hands up with it, fairly recently just weren't where they needed to be. And as somebody who preaches about standards, as somebody who inside their coaching, it's a huge element of what I teach of making decisions as the 2.0 version of yourself. For me to not embody that in my day to day meant that I
Hmm.
was overwhelmed with huge feelings of imposter syndrome, huge feelings of, you know, not wanting to post content, not wanting to do the things that I know I should be doing because I felt fraudulent in doing them because I knew that other areas of my life where I had full control, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And it just comes back to that principle of how you do one thing is how you do everything, even if it's as simple as the smaller wins. And I always preach to my guys as well, and this is not to keep going on and on about what I preach inside my coaching, but it's like we have ceilings and we have floors, and higher up wellness dropped this bar, and I think that was a really good one of like, he got it from somebody else, I think, but I'm
The
definitely
goat.
misquoting my goat. But literally, it goes whenever we're in crisis or whenever we have a problem, we don't rise to the level of our potential, we fall to the level of our systems. So,
Yeah.
do we have
Yeah.
non negotiables in place so that even on our worst day, and I do this with every single person who comes on in their first onboarding call, we set 3 non negotiables. So, even if you have the worst day on planet Earth, everything goes wrong, there are 3 things you can stick to every day. It's typically a step goal, water, and staying on plan with this, whatever it is. It's something that's really straightforward and really easy to do so that if everything falls apart, you can fall down to the level of that system, which is above baseline. And for me, that has been a massive thing in terms of raising the overall level of everybody that comes on with me because even if the worst thing on earth happens, there's a level there that can always be implemented. And for me, that was something that I was actually missing post show that I had to actually run my own. I had to run my own coaching on myself, right? Of like set non-negotiables. Get up at this time before this time every single day. No snoozing, no anything, no being lazy, no my body needs sleep, none of that nonsense. Eat on
Hmm.
plan every single day. Gym every single session, don't miss it. Get your water in, don't miss it. Get your subs in, don't miss it. A whole list of these things that like seem very fundamental, but whenever you've been in that state of locked in for so long and you finally get a taste of like
Yeah.
I can relax now, people, and I'm so guilty of just taking the foot off that gas. And it's so important that you have those fundamental foundational levels there that
Yeah.
you can fall to them and lean on them because it's so crucial
100%.
overall.
Man, I couldn't agree more. And past few days, I've found myself repeating the fact that forget the ceiling, let's raise the floor. The
Mm,
rest will sort itself out. It's something I struggled with when I did my photo shoot. That was my first time like actually looking good objectively. But then I look back at those photos now and I'm like, man, I wasn't even lean like. I was just in some
and
good
you were
good shape.
lean. You were lean. It's just fucking body
I
dysmorphia. You were lean.
I don't know. I don't know. Some of that photos I'm like,
You were lean. So I
Anyway,
saw you.
I was objectively good shape, objectively good shape.
Very
But
much so.
that's because my floor has raised,
Mm.
right? And recently, that's something I've found myself struggling with a lot, like standards, because the weather's great, the World Cup's on. I don't really have any physique goals at the moment. I'm just hammering away at the business, and to be honest, like last 2 weeks, I've had far more than I should be, and so when I was doing checking from a coach, I think I mentioned like 2 weeks ago, I was like, man, like I don't have any like concrete physique goals at the moment. I'm just kind of enjoying life, but there is a certain element to it where I can't just keep doing that, right? So today I'm having a bit of a barbecue with Dad, who's a massive Argentina fan. Argentina and England are playing in the World Cup semi final. World Cup semi finals on Sunday. I'm not going to wrestle with myself. I'm not going to crash out. I'm like, if I want to enjoy some good food, I'm gonna do it for these special occasions. How often can you in this country? How often can you have a barbecue
It's
on the
true.
World Cup semi final night? Sunny
Very true.
weather, throw the ball with the dog. All these fun things. I'm gonna enjoy that, and then I'm fully decided. But looking at going into a cut here, as some of you know, I'm moving back to Poland. Again, we don't have a confirmation of when. So it's
We
very
just moved it.
complicated trying
That's
to
it.
leave the UK when you have a business here. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that simple. But what I want to do, because I'm transitioning away from the floor, this is my last month on the floor, a huge element of online coaching is being in incredible shape.
Mm.
And again, I'm still in objectively good shape still, but you need to stand out, like we talked about. Give them a reason on social media.
Mm.
It's like, right, the standards. I was preaching about standards. Let's this move. I One of the main reasons for me moving back is I want to be. I said this on an Instagram video that I actually posted in Polish. I want to finally be a Pole in Poland, not the cousin that comes over for holidays.
Mm.
Right, and that's something that's been missing from my life since I was 2 years
Yeah,
old. Okay,
that's amazing.
so when I move over there, I want the best apartment that I could possibly afford. I want all of my standards higher than they've ever been. I want the business better than it's ever been. And I want to be the best shape of my life. But all of that is null and void if I don't if I don't set or raise the
Raise
floor.
your floor.
Right,
Yeah.
because like you have your non negotiables, your bottom liners, and this is the thing a lot of coaches never talk about. Never want. I sometimes I can argue I've been too vulnerable on social media. I share things that I shouldn't do, but at the same time, it's my page. I run
I
it
was
how
gonna
I
say,
want to run it.
I'm not sure there is such a thing. I'm not. I generally don't like. This
Yeah.
is maybe a belief that I hold, and maybe it is different, or maybe it's not the thing. But I think in an increasing era of AI and artificial, there is something
Mm-hmm.
so refreshing about somebody who is uber authentic, and vulnerability is
Yeah.
strength. And I think a lot of people forget that as
Yeah.
well. That
Yeah.
the more
Yeah.
vulnerable you can be, the stronger you are, right? In an emotional sense, but also on social media, the more vulnerable you can be, the more people are going to want to interact with you, trust you, build around you. You know, there is a sense of like we still want to have authority, of course, because we know what we're talking about, but the authority almost just comes from the knowledge and from the ability
Yeah.
to be open on social media. Being vulnerable on social media in and of itself is authority, because how many people are vulnerable on social media? Not a whole lot, especially not a lot with a business, not a lot who are a coach. And I think that in itself is a reflection of that. And what you said there is amazing in terms of like, you know, raising the floor. I think that's a huge concept, and you even said it yourself, like of, you know, maybe not being as on track with the nutritionist stuff as you could have been, but also
Mm-hmm.
enjoying your life at the same time, right? I think that's so
Yeah. Yeah.
important. It's so important that we have seasons of work and seasons of play, right, and seasons of rest. And I think
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really difficult to
Rest. What's that
balance.
mean?
Yeah, rest. What is that? I've never heard of her. So like, no, but generally, like it is like it's important to enjoy those things because, like I said, like how many times will you get to have a barbecue with your dad on World Cup semi final day when Argentina versus England was on? Like
Mm-hmm.
very few and far between dates that that will happen if ever again. So the idea being, we want to cherish those moments. We want to be present and be in our lives, and being present is one of the biggest things we can do for ourselves in terms of showing up for
Yeah.
ourselves. And
Yeah.
in that way, it's like the food is always going to be there, and in fact, like that's something my coach always told me when I was trying to reverse out after the show. He said, "Bro, the food's always going to be there. The conditions always going to be there." He's like, "You've been in this position." He's because I was getting a little bit fluffier, obviously post show, but when you've been stage lean, you know yourself, when you've been super lean, and then you stop being said amount of lean, even if you are still like I'm still lean, but I'm 74,
Yeah.
75 kg now, up from about
Yeah.
68 on stage, which is a decent bit of fluff for me having been that low. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm worried I'm getting fluff. I might need to go and do a cut again. He's like, bro, like the condition you're capable of getting in that condition. Just let that knowledge be enough. Let that for now be enough until we have to get back there again. He's like, because you're gonna get back there again, and you're gonna be in even better condition the next time you do it. So yes, it was good to be like that, but take into account the idea of like, well, you know, you've done that. Be proud of that accomplishment, but let
Yeah.
that be enough. You know, don't keep kind of chasing and chasing and chasing for the sake of, you know, sacrificing everything else in life, and having that balance between going and having a barbecue with your dad versus amping
Yeah.
over on plan and getting jacked and getting lean. It's so important to have the balance of the two.
100%. It's such a good frame. The reason I'm not concerned about the potential 7,000 calories I will eat today is because I know that, for example, I'm me being in Poland is me painting a very specific down to even what glasses I want in my house for like as in terms of
I
like
love
what
that. I love that.
glasses for water.
Specificity is king.
I like be so specific in who you want to be that you can picture what types of glass will have or what types of glasses will have condensation on them,
Mm,
right? What it looks like when you wake up in the morning, what it looks like
mm.
when you go to sleep at night. Oh, be like so specific, even down to the variation of the white Nike sock you're gonna wear. I'll stand on that.
Because it is going
I'll
to be white
stand on
night
that.
socks. It's definitely
Yeah.
going to be white night socks.
I'm not even gonna try to get up
Yeah,
night,
get
but
him
I'm
out,
wearing
get him out,
white
get him
Nike
out.
socks, right?
It's turned a different type of
But
podcast now.
no,
Well,
but that's how specific we need to be. And that image in my head is me at the. Everyone always talks about me when I was in my peak. I was at Zach Bryan and I just happened to be speaking to the guy beside me. Turned out
mm.
he was 16 and he said he was washed. He showed me photos of him in his prime. I was like,
Brother, washed. This guy missed.
brother,
Bro, this guy missed Black
brother.
Ops 2. This guy missed. This guy missed like Black Ops 1 and 2, and saying he's washed. What are we talking about, man? What are
I've
we on about?
I've uh I've had about I'm on like the seventh variation of myself since being 16.
Real.
Since
That's
being
real
16,
shit, though.
right?
That's real stuff.
I hate when people talk about like, oh, peak, bro, raise the floor, raise the floor,
Raise the
raise the
floor.
floor,
Talking about some
and
peaking.
everything, and the ceiling will sort itself out. So point being, I know what I know, and I know I have the discipline. And I know again, it's not even needing discipline. It's simple. If I want to get lean, I know I have the experience, I have the accountability, and I have the knowledge, right? And I'm gonna enjoy the process, brother. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Pleasure's
It's
been
been
all mine.
I've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed this one. I hope you guys will enjoy it. And if you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening. Or if the people want to know where they can find you,
Easy
give them
put.
something.
Instagram and TikTok at Odhran__ O'Kane. Double underscore. But you should find me. I'm the guy who looks like he's been AI'd in
I
his profile
actually
picture.
think as you were saying that you lagged. I'm
Damn,
gonna
that's
just for
crazy.
clarity.
They really don't want me to win. That's crazy. No, I'm playing. So Instagram and TikTok, guys, at Odhran__ O'Kane. ODHRAN__ OKANE. I look like the guy who's been AI'd in his profile picture, even though, yes, I did get that lean. Yes, the pictures are real. And no, you can't have my phone number. Unless you want to set something up, in which case, go ahead.
Yeah. Guys, speak to strangers, please. Do not listen to what people say about what you do on social media, because the reality is a commonality I have with Oren is that when we come up on certain people's feeds, their eyes roll back, in their skull. Now, when they see inevitably there'll be a clip posted from this podcast on Instagram. When they see Oren and I together, their eyes will roll back so fast that they'll just almost start doing a burnout and smoke will start coming out of their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not important. What's important is that even if there's at least one person that takes one thing from this conversation and it makes their life better, then this conversation will have been worth Oren walking into Pure Gym, not Ronnie. Sonny. That was no. I tried to mix Rainy and Sonny. Rainy. It was my dog barking distracting me.
Yeah, it was all his fault.
This guy. That rainy day.
It would have all been worth
Walking
it.
in, it's a Pure Gym with a mic and a camera, trying to embarrass himself. It's all worth it in the end.
What was it that
keep winning, guys?
The quote was, what is it? Embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. Go and make a fool of yourself. I forget who said it, but go and find it. It's out there. Raise your floor, and remember that at the end of the day, you've got two dates in your gravestone: the date you were born, the date you die. So do something with your dash in the middle.